Do you have trouble dealing with negative thoughts? We're going to talk about 3 different types of negative thoughts and how to deal with them. Welcome back to my channel, Closer to Your Higher Self. My name is Jerome, and I've been helping people transform their lives for almost 3 decades. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and share this with anyone you think can benefit from it. I think it goes without saying that we have enough challenges in our lives without being bogged down by negative thoughts. But why do we have negative thoughts? Well, one reason, believe it or not, is as a protection mechanism. When there were predators in our environment, we planned for the worst case scenario as a matter of survival. It was in our best interest to be able to anticipate danger. You would leave your dwelling and think about the lion, tiger, or bear that might be around the corner, and you would be ready to take action. And these were actual possibilities. But now we're evolved and we have imagination. So beyond planning for things that might actually happen, we dream up the most outrageous scenarios. And worse, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between something real and something imagined. So these imagined scenarios affect our nervous system as though they're actually happening. When you send a text to a friend and don't hear back for a while, do you think, oh, they're probably busy and they'll get back to me when they can? Or do you think, I wonder if they're mad at me? And then proceed to dream up all the things you said in your last conversation that might have offended them. And most of you have probably done this. Or say your significant other is quiet. Do you start questioning them like, what's wrong? Why are you so quiet? While in your mind, you're dreaming up the worst case scenario. We do this doomsday planning, and we do it a lot, and we're really good at it. But if you look back over your life, or even the last year, you will have to concede that most of the stuff you worry about never happens. You just forget about one terrible thing you dreamed up and move on to the next one. I mean, really think about it. 99.9% of the things you worry about never happen. But you create this reality in your mind. And as far as your body is concerned, it's really happening. When that friend doesn't answer your text, the feeling you get in your body is the same feeling you would get if your friend was really mad at you. Which means your body releases the same chemicals of stress, which is not good. In this case, choose the better option. So here's something that I hope illustrates my point. I believe in a higher power. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it works. I don't believe it's a man in the sky, but I believe some power had to have at least set the universe in motion. Now, there are many scientists who would ridicule that belief. They would give their explanation as to how they think the universe started. But no matter how far they go back, they don't have a definite answer. So they don't really know. So neither of us know exactly how the universe started. So unless they can give me a scientifically proven answer, I choose to believe in the higher power. It makes me feel better. And you can do the same. Until you find out for sure whether your friend is upset with you or busy, choose the option that makes you feel better. The second kind of negative thought is triggered by feelings. Here's how it works. Your beliefs determine your thoughts determine your feelings, and your feelings determine your actions, thus creating your reality. Belief, thought, feeling, action. But let's look at that middle part for a second. Your thoughts determine your feelings. Now, if you have negative thoughts long enough, that feeling can be so ingrained in your body that you can have a feeling without the thought. But because the feeling is attached to a thought, it can trigger a thought. For example, you break up with your ex and it caused you a lot of pain. You can't stop thinking about it, and of course, there's a feeling that goes along with those thoughts. If it goes on long enough, that feeling will become ingrained in the body. It starts to feel normal. And pretty soon you can have the feeling first, which then triggers the thought of your ex and what he or she did, and it becomes this spiral, this thought, feeling, thought spiral. And here's something to think about. If that's the situation you're in with your ex, finding the person for you is going to be very difficult. that thought feeling spiral keeps you bound to the X. You're not sending out a signal that says, I'm available and ready to find a good person with similar values. Your signal says, I'm angry and bitter because my ex did me wrong, or I'm sad and lonely and it's because of my ex. Now, guess what kind of person you attract with that signal? A person just like your ex. So you have to unwind this deeply ingrained thought feeling. In this example that we're talking about, that feeling comes up and triggers a thought. Instead of getting angry, say something like, I wish them well, they weren't the person for me, so now I'm able to find my ideal person. And don't allow yourself to dwell on the past pain. We're talking about forgiveness. Now, this doesn't absolve them of wrongdoing, and it doesn't justify bad behavior. In fact, the forgiveness is actually for you. Because when you finally let it go, you can have peace and you can move on with your life. Now, this is easier said than done, and I actually went through this myself a few years ago. And when I finally completely got rid of that feeling, it felt weird because I wasn't used to it. I woke up one day and my first thought was, I feel empty. But it wasn't emptiness I was feeling. It was the first time in a while I didn't have that feeling about my ex. What I really felt was peace. Let's do a thought experiment. Your friend calls and says, I really need to talk. Okay, you say, tell me what's going on. And he says, well, you know that big project I was working on. The presentation was today. I set my alarm before I went to sleep, but my battery died and I overslept. And when I finally got to work, I went to the wrong conference room, so I was super late. Now, which of these options are you most likely to say to your friend? A, wow, I can't believe you did that. That was so stupid, and you're probably going to get fired. And then how are you going to pay your bills? Or B, so you made a mistake. You're not the first person in history to oversleep, and it really seems like they value you at the company. If you explain everything to your boss, I'm sure he'll understand. Now, if you're a normal person, you would probably say something like option B to your friend. It's a mistake, your boss will understand, etc. But let's do the experiment again. Except this time, you're the one that was late for the meeting. Which option would you choose now? If you're like most people, you would probably say something more like option A. And it doesn't have to be a work situation. Say you're trying to lose weight and your diet gets off track. Most of us are more likely to be super critical of ourselves instead of being compassionate and understanding like we would be with our friends. Now think about that for a second. You'll be nice to your friends and mean to yourself. Now, it's really not unusual, and I would say it's actually pretty common. So what should you do about it? First, you have to make a concerted effort to notice when you're doing this. If you've done this a lot, you may not even realize you're doing it. And you can't change anything that you're not aware of. And when you examine the exact words you say, you may realize they're not even your words. Someone may have said these things to you when you were younger, or you may have heard your caregivers say these things about themselves. We tend to repeat patterns. In addition to recognizing when you're doing this, you should make a commitment to treat yourself as nice as you treat your friends. For some, that concept is so foreign that it probably sounds ridiculous. But let it sink in for a second. I'm going to treat myself like a friend, with understanding and compassion. Now, it won't be easy at first. You'll have to catch yourself. You need to consciously focus on changing this behavior, and later it will become second nature. When I first started doing this years ago, there were many times I would hear that critical voice. I would give that voice the finger and then say something nice to myself. And here's another thing you can do. Keep a picture of yourself as a child on your phone's home screen. When I was going through a tough time and trying to be kind to myself, I had this picture on my phone. It's me at around 3 years old. So in my mind, I would think of myself as this child, and then it would be much easier to be kind to myself. And when you think about it, if you're degrading yourself, it's that inner child that you're insulting. And for me, it was impossible to say something negative to that child that was on the phone. That child was learning and growing. He was doing the best he could, but he was bound to make mistakes as he was learning. And that's the same position you're in. You're learning and growing, and you're bound to make mistakes. So be kind to yourself. Treat yourself like a friend. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and tell me in the comments how you plan to implement these strategies. And I'll see you next time on Closer to Your Higher Self.